Call the meeting to order of the Wilmington City Council. I'd like to welcome all those who are with us here this evening and all those who are watching us at home. Thank you for taking an interest in your government. This time I'd like to introduce Leona Jones of the Wilmington Police Department for their invocation, and I will ask if everyone will stand and remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance. And if Ms. Jones is not here, I'm going to ask Mayor Pro Tem Barnett.
Mayor, she's ill tonight.
Okay.
She's ill tonight,
okay.
yeah, thank you.
Mr. Barnett.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, we thank you for another day, another opportunity to do the work of the city of Wilmington. And so we ask you to give us wisdom. We ask that you grant us understanding, patient hearts. We pray, God, that we learn to do the things that will make Wilmington better for all of us. That's our desire, even for the generations to come. May the things that we say and the things that we do put a smile on your face. In his name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have one presentation this evening, and I'm going to recognize Mr. Tyrone Garrett, who's the CEO of the Wilmington Housing Authority, and Mr. Michael Copeland and Mr. Chris Orande from the Hillcrest Development Team for an update from the Wilmington Housing Authority. Ogarande, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Good to see you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, and members of the council. My update was going to be more geared towards just letting you know where we are with the federal shutdown and how it's actually affecting the Housing Authority at this point in time. As you may be aware or may not be aware, housing authorities throughout the United States all have a requirement of having a 3-month reserve, and that is it. So the 3-month reserve takes our agency to the end of December. So today and tomorrow, there will be letters going out to landlords just informing them of our current status, also letting them know how they should be dealing with their residents, meaning that they should not be charging their residents for any additional monies that may be owed or due if the shutdown continues past December 31st for us. In addition, they will not be receiving any annual increases until at such time that the federal shutdown has ended. Okay, so we're trying to hold the status quo, allow residents to remain in their units, and there can be, as you have to know, there can be no evictions during that period in time, right? As landlords just have to deal with the residents paying 30% of their income or their portion of the actual rent if we're unable to make payments. But again, as of right now, we're holding steadfast, believing that hopefully this will end much sooner than later, and that if it does not, though, we are up until December 31st before we have to make any other harsh decisions. So I can take any quick questions in reference to that. Yes, sir.
So you said your reserve takes you to the end of December?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I just want you to know we're out of money.
Yeah, I'm not coming here for any
we just bought some.
for any assistance.
I don't know if you saw the news or not, but we just bought some new radios, so we're out of money.
Understood.
Mr. Joyner.
Thank you for speaking with us. If you have a resident who feels that a violation of that has occurred, what resources have been made available to them, or who should they contact?
First, you need to contact our office directly. Our director, Zoria Elkins, will be available to discuss anything with a resident and or a landlord who may be having issues or concerns about what's coming along. Also, in addition to that, her staff is well equipped and have the capacity to deal with any issues that may come up. So
Thank you.
Just direct them to us.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Tyrone.
Okay. Part two is just to let you know how the federal shutdown actually will affect our redevelopment projects. Now, you know we have 4 redevelopment projects that are up and coming and moving along. Because federal workers have not been on site and have not been in the office, we're going to need some approvals from them. So let's say we have some redevelopment deals that are not Wilmington Housing Authority's redevelopment deals, but someone in Midwest or someone on the West Coast or even in the East Coast, and they have redevelopment deals that need to close before the end of this year based on low-income tax credits. They're not working on those transactions at this point in time if they have a connection for HUD approval. So what I envision will happen is that we'll be pushed back sometime where we thought we would have a first quarter 26 close. It may be second quarter 26 if this continues. because there probably haven't been anyone working on any of the current transactions that need to close throughout the country right now. So it will impact us that way. It will not impact us in terms of funding those particular projects, just in terms of timing and getting final approvals from the HUD offices. So, and that being said, we have just the first phase of our Hillcrest redevelopment project. I just wanted to bring you up to speed on phase 1, just where we stand. Next week, you've all been invited to the master plan of Hillcrest. That will be a bigger bite of the apple and tell you exactly what we're planning for future phases. But right now we have Chris and Michael who are just going to talk about phase 1 and where we stand and what the vision is for the actual continuing phases. Now, in order to get the second half, you have to come next week, okay? So we're not going to give that away tonight, but there will be an opportunity for you to ask some questions that might be able to be answered, okay? Thank you. Kristen, Michael?
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you tonight. My name is Chris Ogunrinde. I'm with Urban Trends Real Estate, Inc., member of the development team for Hillcrest Village. And our other partners are based out of Miami, and they couldn't be here tonight. So we assembled a magical team to create a vision that I think the city of Wilmington will be very, very excited about. And leading those efforts is Michael Copeland with Land Design. And so he's going to take us through a couple of slides, and then hopefully next week we'll have you take a look at the unveiling of what we think is magical project for the corner of Dawson and 13th Street in Wilmington. I look forward to seeing you next week. Michael.
Thank you. Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'm Michael Copeland with Land Design, as Chris mentioned. Up on the screen right now, we have the developer team as well as the consultant team. And I'm here to help represent basically where we're at, to kind of give a lead-in, a little bit of a teaser for next Tuesday's event at 10 a.m. And just going right into it real quickly, just to orient everybody contextually within the city of Wilmington here. The Hillcrest site is situated between Dawson Street and Marsteller and the railroad tracks to the south, as well as 13th Street to the west and 16th Street to the east. And it's less than 2 miles from the historic riverfront district of Wilmington. It's less than 2 miles from all these green things on the screen, which are parks. There's a lot of parks that are surrounding Hillcrest Park, or Hillcrest site. And it's less than 1 mile to the nearest grocery store. We've observed that the Hillcrest site is currently in a pretty transitional area between single-family homes and rental properties to the west of it, primarily, retail and commerce to the east, and some light industrial and commerce and supplies stores to the south. So it's kind of situated in a pretty strategic location for a lot of exciting things to come. Really, its location is in relation to a lot of key destinations throughout Wilmington and the greater area. As mentioned, Dawson is to the north, Marsteller and the railroad tracks to the south, as you can see here on the left portion of the screen, and 13th and 16th is just off to the side. The existing conditions are about 256 current units. There's a small percentage of those, I think about 84 units currently occupied. 98 existing structures, so those 256 units are within those 98 buildings on the site. The site is about 26.2 acres. Really, and again, this is leading into the bigger picture for next week. We will talk about phase 1 today, but the site's bounds and the surrounding areas that I've just described is very well connected, being located within downtown Wilmington. It's just located right in the middle of a great network of roads, sidewalks, trails. It provides the future residents of Hillcrest very convenient access to a lot of interesting things and active businesses and future neighbors around the site. And it sets itself up really well for that connectivity into the existing neighborhood. as well as transportation bus routes and pedestrian bike paths. This is an abbreviated list of several goals and objectives that our team, through the iterative master plan process, came up with. These goals can be kind of expanded upon next week, but for talking about some of the phase 1 elements, our goals, and not in order of importance here, but number 1, create a mixed-use, mixed-income community. As I was just mentioning, designing that vibrant neighborhood that blends housing, retail, services for residents across all income levels. And 2, providing that the inclusive amenities and services. Our site and our master plan, the overall master plan, will offer child care services, retail, small businesses, opportunities for locating along Dawson Street, as well as mentioned, residents across all income levels. Connecting people to nature is a big thing in this case because there's a lot of existing beautiful live oaks on the site that our team has worked very hard to try to preserve within the overall master plan. And to get a little bit of a sense of that context, you can see the images to the bottom of the screen of some of those oaks. Ensuring equitable access for all, designing the housing and the public spaces that's really in tandem with each other, and also the transportation to be inclusive of all ages, abilities, and, as mentioned earlier, income levels. And then, arguably, for the first phase especially, most importantly, rehouse the existing residents of Hillcrest Village. So prioritizing the relocation and reintegration of current residents into the redeveloped community. And then, as mentioned, this takes us to the phase 1 plan. The phase 1, and it's labeled seniors in kind of the left-hand side of the screen, shows in light blue that phase 1 seniors building, which includes 84 total units. It breaks down about 69 one-bedroom units and 15 two-bedroom units. And there's a conceptual senior living residence, if you can see it on the screen in the upper right-hand corner, and that would be fronting on 13th Street from this vantage point. The amenities, outdoor amenities and indoor amenities for this site and this building in phase 1 include the sitting areas around the building, a gazebo, multi-purpose room, covered drop-off area, exercise room, and screened-in porches for this phase 1 portion. It will be built to National Green Building Standards or similar certification, and it will have on-site management offices. We've been working, again, with the team on the phasing, which is what this diagram to the left-hand side of the plan shows. Gives an indication of the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And phase 4 is kind of broken up into other sub-phases because it's part of how we were trying to bite this off that we can talk more about on Tuesday, bite off the whole master plan process. As part of that, you can see in black right here, I think if the cursor is visible on the screen, that's the existing Hillcrest office building. That can be potentially utilized during phase 1 as well. So I was mentioning on-site management offices within phase 1 building, and potentially that building continues to be online. And then lastly, as mentioned earlier on the previous slide, existing on-site residents to be relocated. The construction schedule for that building is marked to start of June next year, 2026, and God willing, and December 2027. And are there any questions at this point?
Are there any questions of Michael or Chris? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you for your presentation. I was really interested in what you're going to be doing with the residents who had to move out and the residents that are still there. Now, and I noticed you mentioned that the new senior thing has like, what, 69 one-bedroom? Are most of the people that are there now, are they living in one-bedrooms?
No, they're not. Actually, they're living multi-bedrooms. But what we know is that Hillcrest is over 80 years old. So what happened in this particular case, many of the residents that we're moving now are seniors. Individuals from their households have actually moved out, so they're actually, quote unquote, what we would consider to be overhoused. They're living alone in 2 and 3 bedroom units, possibly a 4-bedroom unit with one individual living there. So that's why we decided to go with the senior building as our first particular phase, so that those residents can be relocated into a 1-bedroom unit, and then we have the ability to do mixed use, mixed income housing, and multi-bedroom housing throughout the rest of the complex.
Okay, so you're telling me that most of the families kind of split up,
Yes,
okay? And so what we have left basically are
seniors.
seniors. Okay.
Yeah, yes. In some cases, I'm not gonna say it's at 100%. In some cases where there might have been families within those particular units, they're being relocated appropriately, and then they'll have the opportunity to move back to an appropriately sized unit once it's built, let's say in phase 2. So just so you know, in phase 1 and phase 2, that's 100% directed at making sure all the residents that were impacted or relocated from the site are able to return as soon as possible. And then we are able to open up, whatever the units are in remaining phase 2 and phase 3, 4, 5, 6, or how many phases that we go down the road. Those will be open to the general public, so to speak, in our waiting list. But the priority are our residents being able to return in both phase 1 and phase 2.
Okay. And how are you staying in touch with those folks? I'm just curious.
We're having meetings. Many of the residents are going to be showing up next week for the public meeting and the public discussion of the master plan. Ms. Hattie, who is our resident services coordinator or manager, she is making sure that everybody is engaged. One thing that we do know, and then from an experience that we had prior when we dealt with the remediation of the units, was that we need to keep in touch with everyone appropriately based on Uniform Relocation Act guidelines. They will come in and audit us. They will come in and say, have we been in touch with everyone? Were they responsive? If they were not responsive, how many attempts did you make? Did you put something in the newspaper to make sure that they knew that this was occurring? So there are a lot of steps that we have to go through to ensure that we engage and maintain contact with residents.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Waddell.
Yeah, wonderful presentation. I may have missed it on I think maybe the very first slide. What is the unit mix currently of the site?
I would have to grab that for you because they're not all 1-bedrooms, put it that way.
But is it, how many buildings is it?
We had 26 buildings, 97 buildings. 97 buildings, I think it
98
was.
buildings, maybe
Yeah.
97?
Broken down, thanks.
98.
Yep, 98.
But we don't know the total, what the unit mix breakdown is?
I could get it for you.
Well, what's I guess, may I ask you this, I guess it doesn't really matter. What's the total unit mix for the new plan?
I don't want.
Oh, we can't say that yet.
I want to hold on to that one.
All
But it's definitely going to be more than 256
That's
units.
next week.
Yeah, that's
All
next week. It's going to be more than 256
Stay
units,
tuned.
and
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be a mixed income community.
Okay, and then how many of the existing units are occupied?
Only approximately, I'm going to say less than half. So I'm going to go right around 100 units, if that. What we have been doing in preparing for this, one thing that we do know is that relocation is always a tough piece to the puzzle. So we've been relocating residents to one side of the complex already to prepare for demolition and new construction. So
This plan contemplates completely redeveloping the whole site, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Spears.
Mr. Waddell kind of asked what I was going to ask about the relocation. Was it going to be 100% demolition, or were you all just relocating people on site?
one of our redevelopment concepts that we have and that we try to utilize is always the opportunity to build first on site to limit relocation of residents off site. So
Right.
we always try to do a build first concept right from the jump if we can possibly do that. In this particular case, we're able to do that. We've just moved residents basically to one side as best as we possibly could. Some residents were accommodated off-site at other complexes, but again, they have the right of first refusal to return once the phases are built for them.
No, I remember you saying that. I'm excited. I know there are some people throughout this community that are extremely excited to see, we're getting closer to this happening. And I'm just excited for it. I spent a lot of my years running around Hillcrest, playing basketball in Hillcrest, and spending the night in Hillcrest. So A lot of people near and dear to me still live in Hillcrest, and you know, this is important. It's been on the radar for a while. And Chris, great to see you in person. My cousin Sharon speaks highly of you, and the mayor and I met with Michelle how many years ago?
Been a while.
Yeah, and I messaged her over the weekend, just not even knowing, subconsciously, asking if she was still on the project. So I'm proud that we're still holding near and dear to what we said we were going to do. So
Michelle and the whole entire team will be here next week, so.
I think she said that, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
Yeah, just one question for clarity for me. You had like number 5, and it said something about green building or similar certification. Explain that to me.
Well, basically, for layman's terms, energy efficient, you know, if we
Okay.
can.
And so, but similar certification is like when you go to the grocery store, you could get like the name brand, or you get the non-name brand. Is that
No.
Okay.
There are so many different groups that certify green buildings. So for example, in single-family homes, you have Systems Vision Advanced Energy group that administers that. And then, of course, you have the Green Building Council. So we're going to achieve that through some form of organization that will kind of certify those buildings for us.
okay?
Yeah.
And Mayor Pro Tem, green building could also include landscaping, where you don't have to use as much water to ensure that the grass grows and stays green. So there are different concepts for green build across not just the actual vertical structures, but also through landscaping.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else? Tyrone, I just want to say congratulations. I know you folks have been working hard on this, and it's been a while, and this has just didn't come about in the last year, 2 years, or 3 years. You folks have really been working hard to get this done, and we obviously with the government shutdown, we've just got another hurdle to get through, and I know you will. Could you just share with me just real quick? I know that that the Housing Authority also purchased those several buildings from the tax credit developer that were abandoned basically after Florence in 2018. Where are you in that concept? Those buildings will come down, or you're going to keep those buildings and repurpose them?
Okay, so we're talking about Gervais, and the
Gervais,
purchase
I'm
was from
sorry.
Telesis. Yes, what's going to happen with that, we're in the process of working with Blue Ridge Atlantic on that particular project, where we're going to demolish those 18 units that everyone drives by and sees that are fenced in. We're probably going to submit a tax credit application in the spring, first quarter of 26, for those particular units to come down. So it's going to be a demolition of those 18, and we're going to erect approximately 90 units on that particular site, and then come out to the front on Dawson and build another 80. So we're probably going to have about 170 or so units, new construction units built, in addition to doing the rehab, which we had originally had contemplated for Gervais after the hurricane. So the idea is to do rehab and new construction on the Gervais site, and also use land that we own right next to Dawson's Loft. I think we're calling it Dawson Lofts 2 or something like that at Gervais. But we're going to build about another 170 units at that particular site. Again, tax credit application goes in the spring. It'll take a minute for it to get approved, take a minute for us to get up and running. But we're going to have, again, that construction project will probably start sometime in 27, hopefully, along with everything else that we're doing. So,
Great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us,
Thank
as
you.
always.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. That brings us to our next order of business, which is our consent agenda, items 1 through 7. Are there any items that any council member would like to hear separately? If not, what are the wishes of council in respect to the consent agenda? Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Barnett, second by Councilmember Spears. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our public information segment. We have 6 speakers that have signed up to speak with us this evening. Each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes per speaker. And our first speaker, and of course we'll have a timer and you can hear it go off or you'll see it. Our first speaker is Miss Sonia Muldrow, 907 Emory Street, talking about homelessness taking over my community. Ms. Muldrow here. Okay. Second speaker is Ms. Thereon, Hall of 811 Martin Street, locals' viewpoint on the homelessness. Is she here? Third speaker is Ms. Rebecca Lilly at 2102 White Road, proposed ordinance on public property. Is she here? Fourth speaker, Ms. Hannah McCoy, 1625 South 17th Street, City Council Housing Ordinance. Fifth speaker, Ms. Maddie Willis, 4905 Market Street, apartment. Formal notice of unlawful proposal at board meeting on 10/7 regarding homelessness. Yes, ma'am.
All right, greetings, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Maddie Wills, and I live and work in Wilmington. I'm a human rights consultant focused on inclusion, and I'm here because I care deeply about the dignity of every person in this city. I urge you to reconsider ordinance that criminalizes survival, section 610, because it targets unhoused residents and raises serious constitutional and discrimination concerns under both federal and North Carolina law. This ordinance doesn't solve homelessness, it just hides it. It punishes people for existing in public spaces when they have nowhere else to go. It makes it illegal to sleep, pitch a tent, or leave belongings unattended, lose medications, important government IDs, and vital documents, and these are often the only things standing between them and stability. Firstly, it's discriminatory in effect. The language may sound neutral, but the impact falls almost entirely on people who are unhoused, many of whom are disabled, they're older, they're veterans, they're people of color, or they're families in crisis. These are Wilmington residents, and turning survival into an offense violates equal protection and non-discrimination standards, and effectively it discriminates based on socioeconomic status. Second, it violates due process. Allowing the city to seize and dispose of belongings without notice is unconstitutional. Both state and federal law require an inventory and a chance to reclaim property. For people living without housing, those possessions are their home. Third, it risks violating disability protections. Many unhoused residents live with physical or mental disabilities. The ADA requires reasonable accommodations so city policies don't exclude or harm them. A blanket ban on sleeping or storing items without alternatives is discrimination by effect. There are more just and lawful alternatives, including adding a safe harbor clause, requiring notice and a reclaim process for property removal, including ADA accommodations, and even more. Please reconsider this ordinance. Lead with housing, dignity, and inclusion, not criminalization. Thanks for your time, and thank you, Ms. Andrews, for your attention to this matter. And I'm happy to share proposed language or legal precedent to help Wilmington move forward with policies that uphold civil rights, safety, and humanity for all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yep.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mr. Joel Barrio, 1808 Eastwood Road, Avelo Airlines, $150 million contract with ICE.
Hello. Okay. Hi. Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak. I want to begin the speech by stating that our City of Wilmington community is unfortunately complicit in Trump's deportation machine because of our action of heavily advertising Avelo Airlines throughout the city. Avelo Airlines is a budget-friendly airline that has a $151 million contract with ICE, and ICE has routinely terrorized our nation's immigrant community by rounding up people of Hispanic background in community centers, schools, churches, and the middle of legal proceedings in a manner that disregards our nation's laws because they're doing this without any legal due process. So I'm just here to spread awareness of this national boycott growing across the nation. I plead all city council members and all of our Wilmington community to please boycott Avelo Airlines at our Wilmington International Airport. Avelo's ICE contract is a unique one. Not only are they the only commercial airline in history to have an ICE contract, but they also painted 3 of their planes completely white for the purpose of allocating those planes strictly for deportations. This sneaky tactic is to try to stay anonymous and try to not to stain their already sinking reputation. Otherwise, they'd proudly display their brand on these planes where humans are literally being shackled to their seats and chairs. Avelo has 3 bases across North Carolina, with 1 residing here at our ILM airport, where they're heavily expanding in. The New Hanover Airport Authority plays a crucial role in funding and managing the ILM airport, and our airport authority is appointed by the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners, whose current chair is Bill Rivenbark, the brother of City Council Member Charlie Rivenbark. My call to action is for all city council members who care about this cause to stand with the boycott and make a public statement against Avelo Airlines ICE contract. If this contract does improve this airline's network, then we'll see other commercial airlines and businesses across our nation take up their own ICE contracts in the future. So we should put a stop to this now while we have the opportunity to do so. The goal of the boycott is to send a message to Avelo and every business possible that having a contract with ICE is not profitable and not acceptable in our communities. Also, Mayor Saffo has the ability to put pressure on the TDA to support the Avelo boycott, leverage the economic impact of our town's tourism and the growing negative image Avelo is fostering across the country. We as a community can do business with better organizations than this airline that deports members of our community. And Charlie, you can always speak to your brother Bill about this national boycott even after your term's expired. It's not exactly easy for us to meet with county commissioners when their meetings are 9 a.m. Monday mornings, and they only allow public comment on pre-approved agenda items. As the chair of the New Hanover County Board of Commissioners, your brother has a direct say in the town's airport authority, which oversees the fund given to the airport and thus Avelo Airlines. And most importantly, I'm asking as many members of the community to stand with us in the Avelo Airlines boycott. Let us stand in solidarity and let the airlines be known for what it truly is, Abduction Airlines. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, brings us to our next item of business, which is our public hearings. Item PH1 is an ordinance directing the housing inspector to vacate, close, and repair the dwelling at 401 North Kerr Avenue as unfit for human habitation pursuant to Article 5, Chapter 16 of the City Code, and directing that a notice be placed thereon prohibiting its use or occupancy. At this time, I'd like to recognize our city manager, Ms. Becky Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be presented by Chief Code Officer Brian Renner.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Council. The first property we're going to talk about tonight is 401 North Kerr Avenue. So this is about a 1,200 square foot single-family house. It's vacant, and the property owner, Cynthia Mitchell, is here with us this evening. Just for context going into this is a repair-only ordinance. This does not include demolition. This is the view from South Kerr Avenue. So the initial inspection of this property took place in 2023. It was an officer's initiating a case after a public nuisance complaint. So we had a public nuisance complaint about trash, tires, and debris on the property. He went out there to investigate that and saw the condition of the house and started a case. The house is vacant and is still vacant. We did the hearing in April of 2024, and Ms. Mitchell attended. That order was issued in April and then expired in January of this year. There have been a few exterior repairs, and there has been some interior cleanup. Here's just some photos from the perspective of this case over time. This is what the house looked like when we started. There's been a few, the outside's been cleaned up for the most part, and there's been a few repairs on the exterior. So the hearing came with the findings of fact, $64,300 for the building. Our estimated cost to repair $21,470, which is 33%. So it's deteriorated according to the city's minimum housing code. So this is a repair-only ordinance. And these are the violations of the minimum housing code that were outlined in there. And just for some context, when we initiate a complaint or a case on these properties, we do the exterior inspection. We see issues. In this case, we had some missing shingles on the roof and some other issues with the windows and the steps and things like that. And then also we were able to view some accumulation of items inside that was pretty excessive, which had us concerned about rodents, harborage, and fire. So that's what initiated the case. When we start and take a case to hearing, we do a full inspection because the city's minimum housing code is about habitability. So we get an administrative inspection warrant, inspect the outside, and inspect the inside. So that's why you might look at this and say, well, the outside doesn't look that bad. Most of our violations are on the inside, and it has to do with rodent harborage, and also there's some concern about fire. So this is what the outside looks like now. We do still have some concerns with the roof. When you see the inside photos, you'll see where there's been some water damage from the flashing around that chimney. This is the backyard and the steps here. This is inside the covered porch, where you can see when you can view that from the outside, it kind of started that concern about the extent on the inside. And there's some of that water damage from the flashing on the roof. I know that Ms. Mitchell has had some people look at the roof and has made some patches. So this is inside the dwelling. Again, the city's minimum housing code requires vacant and occupied properties meet the same habitability standard. So when we go in here and we see things like the cooking facilities not being maintained in a functional order, and accumulation of items. We do have a lot of indication of rodents. There's rodent feces and some other, where you can see the chew marks happening. And this is just some more of that accumulation within, and then some other indication of rodents. There is some damage to the ceiling in the living room from a previous leak. And also when these houses are boarded up, the humidity builds as well. So that's the ceiling in the living room. And this is just some more documentation of evidence of rodents. And then there's some rodent feces that was on the mantle. So what we're looking at with this ordinance is 90 days for the owner to finish repairing the dwelling. We've been in contact with Ms. Mitchell, and as I said, she's here tonight. We believe that her intent is to finish cleaning out the house and making sure that we don't have any rodent problems. This ordinance empowers our office after that 90 days to assist with that. So I just want to be clear that is something that we have discussed with her and explored. As if she's not able to do it, we would be able to help assist her in taking anything that needs to be taken out to the dumpster. We can help her with that. So I'm here if there's any questions about our case. And as I said, Ms. Mitchell's here.
Mr. Ravenborough? Yes, sir. Are there any utilities connected to this house?
There's no water, but there is electric.
Okay, there is electric.
The electric is attached to the house, correct.
When you had your first conversation or after you had witnessed what was going on in the house, was there an explanation from Mrs. Mitchell as to how it got like this or why it got like this?
I would maybe let her speak to that.
That's right, you said she's here.
Yes.
And second, the last thing I wanted to mention, you just mentioned after 90 days, that there's not any benchmarks in that 90 days. We wait until 90 days. If she were agreeable to go ahead and let the city do what you said we'd do at the end of 90, could we not go ahead and accelerate that and begin the process?
We could. It's my understanding that she's working on a plan to do that. I believe she's had issues with contractors and getting support to do that. If it would be council's decision on what that timeline looks like within the ordinance, if that 90 days was reduced, we would, of course, work with her to accelerate that.
Well, before any work can be done, you got to clear it out. That's the part I was talking about.
That would be the first step in this, yes.
Thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem.
My question was very much so in line with Councilman Ravenborough, and so I'll wait to hear from Ms. Mitchell. All right.
Mr. Spears.
So I'm still concerned when these public hearing items come before us like this, and from the exterior, I don't see any issue. I can understand the covered porch and the amount of trash under that covered porch, but a neighbor complaint, that's pretty generic to me. Honestly, I remember a year ago, I was at work, and I don't know, maybe it was you. It was you. He was on my ring, and he rang my ring camera, and he said he had a complaint that I had a bunch of junk in my backyard. Was there junk in my backyard?
It was we were speaking in regards to the vehicles that were at the street, which was a surveillance observation by myself due to complaints we'd had at the property across the street from that property. So I'd be remiss in observing one property where there are similar issues with vehicles, looking across the street, seeing the same thing, and not having that conversation.
Oh, well, I thought I could have sworn you said there was a complaint that there was a bunch of junk in my backyard, which that's totally absurd. But just you know, we can generalize by saying there was a neighbor complaint, and we could, anybody in this room, anybody in the United States could make a complaint against anybody. I can make a complaint against you right now, saying that you slapped me, and you know, you might get the charge, you might not. But I think we have to do our due diligence when it comes to situations like this, and now we get a complaint, or maybe we don't get a complaint. There is a neighbor in the community that has an interest in a property. They see that it's vacant. They may have the resources to do something with it. And I don't know if we feed into their agenda by setting something like this in motion. But it is really getting problematic to me to see it. I can agree that, you know, the home is not in its best condition, but we wouldn't know that if we didn't go inside. And I feel like there's and I've heard you on 2 occasions say that, you know, you have the authority to get a warrant to go inside and do an inspection, but I just feel like that's a real fine line that maybe we're crossing to feed into someone else's agenda. That's all I got from now. I'm waiting to hear from Ms. Mitchell. Thank you.
Mr. Waddell?
Mr. Renner, is the estimated cost to repair still $21,000?
I would say it's probably generally the cost to clean out a house like this for us to contract it is likely $10,000 or so, and then if we're talking about making repairs to the ceilings and stuff like that, I would expect it to be around there if we were to contract it.
That seems fair. The issue I see is that the 2025 tax value has increased significantly from the 2024 tax value. The 2025 tax value is $163,300, according to the tax records I'm looking at right here. And so 21,000 divided by 163,300 is 13%. So that's below our threshold to do anything, is it not?
No, the statute and the ordinance place that threshold at 50% for demolition, and below 50% is repair. So that's why we're talking about a repair ordinance.
Anything below 50%?
Anything below, and the ordinance is about habitability.
Okay.
So when we look at this house, we have issues with habitability. It's not currently, can't inhabit it in its current state. So if we are in a house and we don't see extensive violations, our ordinance has thresholds built within it where you need to have 7 minor violations or a major violation in order for us to even pursue a case.
So we don't have a same percentage basis like we do for the demo side. If it's over 50%, then it's demolition. But if it's under, but if there's infractions, then it would enter into this repair.
Correct. The percentage is a function of the tax value and the estimated cost of repair. We might have a house that's worth $300,000, but it's not inhabitable because there's, for example, maybe no water service.
Okay.
And that would be, you know, a very minimal cost.
But that percentage has really nothing to do with the fact that that's strictly for over 50%. It enters into the demolition phase.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Roundabout?
You just threw out a number. If you got a house worth $300,000, it's $300,000 tax value.
Tax value for the building, correct.
But that's my point. With a reevaluation that we've just had, I don't think I'd be far off if I said 90% of the things that have been appraised in the reevaluation are above actual appraised value if somebody went out and did an appraisal on the house. I mean, that's a fair statement. I'm in that business. I dealt with that very thing today about the tax value being up here and the market value being here. So sometimes that can work against the homeowner when you do your percentages. The second thing I wanted to ask, I noticed that you had your first contact, or we had our first contact in 2023, was it?
Correct.
What percentage of improvement has been done up until tonight?
I believe she's, for example, removed the boards off the front windows and has repaired those windows. There was some, I think, some flashing added around the windows in the front, maybe a shingle or two repaired in the back. But to my knowledge, and there's been some interior clean out as well. It was, when we took this to hearing, the interior was much more dense, and now it's, it's been cleaned out a little bit.
Okay. So we're encouraging her to move on with this action we could take tonight. Thank you
Correct.
very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ryan. This time, I'd like to recognize the property owner.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to be able to represent my truth, my story. Some of you know me from having worked for state and local government for over 31 years. And right before I retired, I had to have hip replacement on the left side. I sound funny because I've also had to have some major dental work done. But I have owned that house since the 90s. And I want to keep my house. That's my desire. I want to pass it on to nieces and nephews. I don't have a husband. I don't have children of my own. I offered it to a niece before 2023, but because she was not working and her husband was financially, they couldn't take it because it was going to move them into a different tax bracket, having what would be considered vacation property. I've not actually slept in the house since early 2023 because I had pulled a muscle in my back, and for 3 days my family couldn't contact me. The phone was beside my bed and I couldn't reach it. So they became concerned. I just had 2 sisters that died within 7 months of each other. They became concerned and told me I needed to come back to the family home in Supply in Brunswick County. So I did, with the intention of being there for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. It's been a long 1 or 2 weeks. But since that time, there's been several things that have happened with regard to my ability to actually stay in the house. I was going by every week, a couple of times a week, to retrieve mail, to do other stuff. I had some furniture and stuff that was in storage. I paid someone to take it out of storage and put it in the house. I asked them to place it in different spots. They just took the stuff and threw it in, basically. I don't know if they even put everything in or not. But anyway, in December of 2023, I began to have problems with my right hip. I went to Emerge Ortho, which is where I'd got my other surgery done. Had some trouble getting an appointment there. Then had some trouble with an orthopedic doctor telling me that I shouldn't be taking a medication for the pain because I had liver disease. I said, when did I get it? Nobody's ever told me I have liver disease. If he answered me, you just did. So I decided that I was not going to deal with them again. So I've had repair people that say they were coming that wouldn't show up. I had one gentleman that came about the roof. He had no ladder or no equipment to check the roof or give me an estimate. I can go back into my phone and see conversations that I've had with the code enforcement since November of 2024. I don't have any prior to that, but there's been lots of them. I've had one roofer tell me that he would not work in, two roofers that would tell me that they would not work in New Hanover County, one that gave me an excessive price to actually take care of the roof. But I did remove some of the stuff that was on the outside. The gentleman that lives in the house behind me takes care of cutting my grass and trimming the bushes. I had one contractor lined up to come. He came to the house and supplied to do a remodel on our bathroom. He got upset with me because I complained about something that he'd done that was incorrect and told me he wasn't going to my house in Wilmington. So I contacted someone else in April. And let me back up a little bit. When I first had a meeting with code enforcement, where we talked about what I was going to do, I had a plan. I had plan A, B, and C, and none of those worked out. That's when I was notified that, or right when they called me to tell me that meeting was going to take place. That's when I found out that they had entered my home. I had no prior knowledge that that was going to happen. In April of this year, I worked with another contractor to go in and do the repairs on the roof. He went up, he looked at it, he gave me a quote. I went and paid for the materials. He was supposed to do the work. And then after I paid him, he proceeded to tell me that I owed him additional funds because the check that I gave him had bounced. I said, that's impossible. My account has overdraft protection. There's no way it could have bounced. Because I told him to take it directly to the bank. He said he tried to cash it at Food Lion. And then they told him that the check was no good. And I said, that makes no sense to me. At any rate, I've had then I contacted him about coming back and removing the debris that he left beside the street. I told him the city is not going to pick it up. I do have electricity at home. I turned off the water because somebody kept coming by and using water and running the bill up. But I had to pay somebody to come back and take up the debris that he had left beside the street. Other incidents that have caused hindrances is a reaction to some food that I ate in May after I'd had the hearing with code enforcement. It caused my left calf to swell to 16 inches in diameter. So for the next few days, I was in one doctor's office after another trying to figure that out. Between June and August, I was going in, my niece and I, she went with me, taking out some of the stuff that was there, so some stuff had been removed. Some of it was no good, we threw it out. Some of it was donated to Christian Recovery Center, Vintage of Value, Salvation Army, and Goodwill. And we started packing up in storage containers inside some of the things that I was going to keep. I ended up having to cancel our trips over when we had the storms last year in August and September. We couldn't even get to Wilmington because of the flooding. I had to cancel in January because of ice on the road. And then in February, I'd lost enough weight to be able to come off of insulin, but had been kept on a pill called glipizide, which is supposed to control blood sugar. I took my medicine on February 6th in the morning. I sat down early that afternoon so I could eat and have food on my stomach before I took my night meds. The next thing I remember is a paramedic standing in front of me on the 7th, asking me who I was, where was I at, what was the holiday for the month. And when I answered the question, he said, she's back. I said, I'm back from where? He said, ma'am, you were totally unconscious. Your blood sugar was down to 25. Your blood pressure had gone up to 125. So I have no idea how long I was out. Needless to say, I'm no longer on glipizide, but they had to put me back on insulin. In June, my doctor ordered me to go have an exam to have the right hip done because I had been trying to get that done for over a year. In July, I began physical therapy. And on July the 19th, I went to an event. It was under a shelter, but it was outside. On the 21st, I came back to my primary care doctor for my regular checkup. They took lab work, and I left. And on that next day, I was going to my physical therapy appointment, and they called me and told me, you need to come back to the office. And I said, well, I'm on my way into PT. I'll be there afterward. They said, no, you need to cancel that appointment and come now. My kidney, the kidney results from the labs that they had done showed that there was an elevated kidney level. So I went back, and they did more labs. They set me up for 2 more appointments, one that afternoon and one the next day, to have CT ultrasound and a whole bunch of other stuff done. They do more labs and then do more labs again on the 25th. I had more physical therapy and primary care checkups between August and then. I started falling. I don't go outside without my phone for fear of falling. I don't walk inside without shoes on my feet for fear of falling. 2 of those times I needed somebody to help me get up. The other one I managed to pull myself up. So no, I don't trust going back into the house on my own because if I fall in there, nobody can get to me. And that's one of the reasons my family wanted me to come out to them when I first pulled the muscle in my back, because my ride or die partner, Carolyn Lee and Leroy Lee, Carolyn had had a stroke. She couldn't help me. I was actually go and stay with them sometime and go check on the house. And then Lee died, December was a year ago, and Carolyn had to be moved to Raleigh with her daughter. So before I can get the hip replacement, my primary care doctor suggested that I go ahead and have some major dental work done. That's been done. I was supposed to be cleared by them tomorrow, but they moved me up to last week. So I've got new pearlies. Between the physical therapist and the orthopedic doctor, I don't know what happened. They said they reported to them. They never got in contact with me about having surgery. I thought that my surgery would have been done by the end of September, at least by the end of September. But it hasn't happened yet. I finally went to the orthopedic office last week, and week before last, because I'd called them and they didn't return my calls. I went in, and the earliest I can get an appointment with the doctor is November the 5th. I have no idea when the surgery will take place. So I do need more time to do what I need to do to get the house in order. What I really hope is that I can still get the repairs done and move back in on my own. But in case that can't happen, I want to be able to turn it over to somebody else. I want to at least be able to get my stuff out. I have antiques in there. I have good furniture in there. Some of it's already going to be donated to some organizations that can use it for people who are in need.
Mr. Spears has a question for you, ma'am.
Yes.
Good evening, Ms. Mitchell.
Good evening.
I'm just going to cut to the chase. You said that you need more time, so how much more time do you need?
Until I have the surgery, I won't be able to tell you. Last time I had surgery, I recuperated quickly, but that was 12, 13 years ago. And like I said, right now, I don't even know when they're going to schedule me because I can't see the doctor till the 5th.
In a respectful manner, how old are you?
I'm 68 years old.
Okay, but I'm just asking you that
Yes,
to
sir.
factor in your recovery time and, I don't know your finances or anything of that nature, but I want to ask you and want to be able to maybe persuade the other council members to allow you enough time to heal properly and not to be worried about losing your property, which your property is not at jeopardy of being taken. It's not in jeopardy of being demolished. They're talking about repairing it, but I believe you do have the first right to take care of your property, but I want to help you have enough time. So I don't know if you thinking, I typically, a couple meetings ago, we gave somebody 180 days, but I think, I know you. I won't pretend like I don't know you. I know of the work that you've done for this community. And this is unfortunate. You're pretty much alone. And I don't know if you need a year, say you need a year, and I'll go to bat for saying that, you know, we should give you a year. I don't know if I can convince these others, my fellow council members, but I'll try.
Councilman Spears, after what I went through in February, every day is a good day. I don't have bad days. I have good days and better days. I honestly, a year would be wonderful. That will give me some time to heal and to be able to do some things on my own. I'm used to doing things on my own. And like I said, some of you may know me from what I've done here in the city. I worked for Southeastern Mental Health. When I got laid off from that, I went to work at UNCW. When I got laid off from that, I was able to get a job at Services for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. I served on various boards and communities here. I'm part of the North Carolina Black Film Festival, which is held here. I'm also part of the Martin Luther King Celebration Committee, which is held here, and we lost Hollis earlier this year. I still support events in this area when I can. I do volunteer work. I do nothing to get paid, except in whatever God gives me in return. I volunteer, so you may see me volunteering sometime, but I'm not doing as much as I had been doing. And that's been hard for me. I'm not used to depending on anybody else to do anything for me. When I ask for help, I use my last resource that I have to be able to get that help.
I understand that. So, of course, I know your record, and again, I thank you for all you've done for this community, and I will try my best to advocate for a 1 year period for you to heal and get your affairs in order. So, and you know, possibly be connected to the right resources to have your property get up to the code law, the land code that we have here.
Yes, and I stay in contact with
Minimum
them.
housing code.
I stay in contact with them.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. I guess my question is, Brian, $21,000 to me doesn't seem like a whole lot of money. And Councilman Spears is saying give her a year to clean it out. I'm more looking toward, do we have any partners that maybe could help her clean this out? Because I wouldn't want her to leave it like this for a year. You know, is there any that you know of?
There's our normal community partners and like the city's programs.
Speaking to Mike.
Oh, sorry. I don't have a specific partner in mind, but I mean, there are opportunities with the city's program or along those lines with the housing rehab program. I believe we've made those referrals. And I don't know if you ever applied to the city's rehab program, Ms. Mitchell, to repair the house, or what your qualifications would be, because there are limits for qualifications on that. We can expand our network a little bit and try to make contact with some community resources that might be able to help. I have a few in mind that we could maybe reach out to, and maybe this meeting will also bring some people out of the woodwork that might be able to help.
Yeah, I'd like to see us go that route. And then also, Ms. Mitchell, you mentioned you have a niece. How is that relationship? Are they interested in helping you, or?
My niece was helping me when I was doing the work before.
Yes, ma'am.
She is a part-time person with the Postal Service, so when she's called to go to work, she goes. As a matter of fact, the day that I was found unconscious, she had to leave unexpectedly. I had a nephew who was going to come down and help me. He also has diabetes, and recently he's been trying to take care of himself because he had to be hospitalized when his blood sugar went up to over 400.
Okay.
As far as my resources here in the city, My personal resources, they're few and far between. Even with all
Okay.
that I've done, they're few and far between.
Yes, ma'am.
Someone did give me the name of one person that might be able to help me, and I have not tried to contact them yet.
Okay. We definitely want you to keep your house, and I would like to see us maybe try to do whatever we can, Brian, to get some resources to her. Okay?
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
This time I'm going to open the public hearing and ask if anybody in the public wishes to speak on this issue, this item. Madam Clerk, have you received any additional comments? Okay, are there any more further questions from council? Mr. Spears?
Mr. Mayor, we're, you know, I guess people are watching online and communicating, and, you know, there is offers to help Ms. Mitchell. They want her contact information and things of that nature. Again, and I hear Mayor Pro Tem saying he doesn't want the house to be left in this condition for an additional year. I hear you, but I also say I wasn't gonna say if you were elderly, because you are elderly, sir. You're elderly. You're already elderly, but you're not facing the upcoming surgery. And even if you were, I don't know how good you would feel about being possibly sick and shut in, and some strangers being in your home, even if they were trying to help you. So I still want to stick to the mindset of giving her enough time to heal, and having the opportunity to connect with possible resources so that she can rectify her own issue. And Brian was talking about the rehab project or program that we have, but is that alone? Is that give me just the
Yeah, so.
simple
Yeah,
rundown.
it would be the city's owner-occupied rehab program. Her intent is to live in the house, then obviously she may qualify for that. We've made those referrals through this process. Obviously, that requires applying and then qualifying, but we'll definitely revisit that with Ms. Mitchell and see if she qualifies.
But it qualifies as what? Like at what cost? Low interest, no interest, nothing, what?
It's forgivable if.
I'll speak to that.
Thank you, Rachel.
It depends on the income qualification. There's a few that if you're under 50% of the area median income, they are forgivable over time. It's a percentage over time, but yes, the no interest and whatnot. So it depends on the income of the person.
Right, and I understand that as well, but I mean, if you're a person that owns a property flat out, would you want to get a loan and start owing?
Correct.
That's just not common sense. It's not good fiscal responsibility. How you like that, Luke? Sound good? Yeah, that doesn't sound good. That I'm certain wouldn't feel good. And she's saying she's using her own resources, sometimes exhausting her own resources to try to accommodate the code that we have. So, I mean.
So it would be, if she qualified for the forgivable, there'd be no repayments. It's just forgiven over time. It's just collateral, if you will, just to help protect. That way we don't have people taking advantage of programs where they get the loan and then sell it and make the profit. So it's a way of protecting that resource, but there would be no repayments.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Since I don't see anybody else, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask for the wishes of council in respect to the ordinance.
I make a motion, but for a period of 365 days. For a period of 365 days.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Spears to extend the time. We're going to hold on. And we have a second to that by Councilman Manager's discussion. Mr. Rambar.
During that 365 days, if that passes here, is there, I mean, does it just, it sits, continues to sit? I mean, what is there any teeth in it that we can, maybe step in? How about if the roof blows off or something, something happens? I mean, are we just gonna walk away from it for 365 days? How does that work?
So after city council passes one of these ordinances, we continue to work with the property owner to bring it into compliance. So for example, if this were to pass at 365, we would engage with Ms. Mitchell on various resources. We would encourage her to get pest control to help mitigate some of the rodent problems. If we were to have a circumstance to where the property was significantly changed or damaged, we would probably re-engage our housing code process and file another administrative hearing, and because the facts have changed with the property, and then we would be back before you through that process.
I certainly am sympathetic to Ms. Mitchell's condition, and I appreciate that upcoming surgery, and you're not able to, she wouldn't be able to come down here recuperating from that. But it doesn't change the fact that the house is deteriorating if it's allowed to continue to be like this. And it is a neighborhood. So those are the things, I mean, during that, I don't have a problem with 365 days if something can continue to be moved along during that 365 on y'all's part to help, okay?
Sir, Mayor Pro Tem?
I just want to reiterate exactly what Councilman Bach said, that even though we're giving her 365 days, we definitely want to do everything we can to rectify that problem soon. All right.
Very good.
So, Mr. Mayor, we've done this before, so we do know that there are no benchmarks for this period of time. We've done this a numerous amount of times. We know that. So I mean, it's going to be a good faith effort.
Well,
based on what Brian said, she's already shown good faith.
Yeah. And I just want to make sure that Brian understands that we're not waiting like 365 days. And that's what I just want to make sure that that's stated, okay? Because we definitely want to get her fixed. Okay?
Yes, we will perform periodic inspections
All
on
right.
the property and
Thank you,
continue to
sir.
work with her.
Okay.
Reeves?
All right, we have the motion on the floor. All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. It's not coming up, I'm sorry. It's not coming up for me either. Could you redo that, please? A voice for it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passed unanimously. Is there a motion to waive second reading?
So moved.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Barnett, second by Councilmember Waddell. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes unanimously on first as well as second reading. That brings us to our next item of business, which is item PH2, which is ordinance directing the housing inspector to vacate, close, and repair or demolish a dwelling at 1308 South 7th Street as unfit for human habitation pursuant to Article 5, Chapter 16 of the City Code, and directing that a notice be placed thereon prohibiting its use or occupancy. I'd like to recognize City Manager, Ms. Becky Hawk. Ms. Hawk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council, and again, our Chief Code Officer, Brian Renner.
Good evening again. 1308 South 7th Street is the property that we're going to talk about right now. It's about 1,400 square foot, single-family house built in the 50s. It's vacant. The owners are the heirs of Wanda J. Moore and her husband at the time, Alexander Moore, and we also noted Eric Johnson, her son, and Mr. Johnson is here this evening. And I have spoken with a representative of Mr. Moore as well today. So this is a view from South 7th Street on the property. This property consists of the main house, and then there's two accessory structures as well. So the initial inspection of this property took place in June of 2020. It was from a neighbor's complaint about the condition of the house. House is vacant, has been vacant since. Went to hearing in May of 2023. Mr. Johnson attended that hearing on behalf of the family. That order was issued in June, and he was provided, the family was provided a year at that time, so it expired in June of 2024. After the hearing, there have been some efforts to repair. Some shingles were put on the roof. There were some materials brought to the property, but it has not been brought into compliance since. This is just showing over time with the re-inspections. We can see what the property looked like at the time, and then we'll look at what it looks like now. So we can see where there'd been some efforts to repair the roof. So the findings of fact is from 2023. The building value at that time was $61,200. Our estimated cost of repair was $74,504, which is over 50%, $122. So it's dilapidated by the city's minimum housing code. So we're talking repair or demolish on this one. Sections of the minimum housing code outlined in the findings of fact included in the item. So this is what the house looks like today. We can see with the roof that it has been reshingled, though we do have some concerns about how that was done, especially when we look at the carport. Underneath the carport, there is a lot of rot on that decking. This is just showing some of the rot that still exists on the property. This is up underneath the carport where we can see that there is water damage on the framing and the decking. And then some of the issues with the soffit around the back side of the house. So the inside of the house, the floor system in the house in several rooms is failing. We can see where there's some boards covering up some issues. There's holes in the floor. This dining room area that would lead to the kitchen is essentially collapsed. We can see where there's some material stacked on there. There's also another room in the back that the floor is significantly bowed.
Brian?
Yes.
Can you go back maybe 2 slides? No, go back, go forward. What is that on the wall there? Is that curtains?
Yeah, it appears to be curtains.
Thank you. It looked like, I'm glad to know it's curtains. Thank you.
Yes. And then we also have some water damage on the inside. This is in the interior hallway. So as I said, there has been some efforts. So the ceiling has been removed. There's been some removal of items or drywall. This is in the side room here where you can see the insulation hanging from the old water damage. And here's more water damage. You can actually see daylight through the bedroom wall there. And this is the conditions of the bathrooms from the damage from the ceiling collapse and lack of maintenance. This is one of the accessory structures, significant issues with the roof, a lot of rotten materials. And this is the other accessory structure. A tree had fallen on it. You can see the damage. This is actually filled with insulation. The whole structure is. So with this one, as I said, Mr. Johnson's here, so I will let him speak to maybe his plans for repair. When we spoke with him on the day of this inspection, he actually was having a contractor or planning to have a contractor come to look at the floors. I've also spoken with a representative of Mr. Moore today, who also indicated an intent to make repairs to the property. I think that Mr. Johnson and Mr. Moore have some conversations about how they're going to go about that they need to have. But our recommendation at this time is 90 days to repair or demolish the dwelling, and I'm here if there's any questions about our case.
Okay. Seeing none, I'll recognize the property owner, Mr. Moore, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, Council. My name is Eric Johnson. This is my Uncle Melvin Johnson.
Okay.
Mr. Moore is a little elderly and he couldn't attend.
Okay.
This property has been in my family. Actually, my grandfather built this property in 1954. I think he was in first grade when that property was built. The reason for the condition of the house, the roof was leaking when my sister was residing in it, and she abandoned the house and didn't tell anybody, so we did not know that the house was actually leaking. And if Brian could pull up his original photos when you did the first inspection, you could see where all the trash and everything else that she had left. Since then, I do not live in New Hanover County. I live in Guilford County, and I've been coming down here doing the work myself. So I completely gutted the house. I have filled 4 dumpsters cleaning out this property, and I have been doing most of the demo myself on weekends and holidays and so forth. So I live in Greensboro. I'm from here. I graduated from Laney High School in 1991, so I'm very familiar with Hannibal County. Since then, of course, my stepfather, he is roughly about 80 years old, and it's very difficult for him to come down and actually do any physical labor. So I have been responsible and spending my own money on demoing this house and making the repairs myself. I know Brian mentioned some shingles, which is not exactly true. I re-sheathed and re-shingled the entire roof. And we also put, I forgot what the name of the stuff is, but a flat roof called where you gotta get a blowtorch and blowtorch to whatever that is on the actual ceiling, on the roof. I think it's ice shield or something along those lines, on the flat parts of the roof. So I have already personally invested roughly about $25,000 to $27,000 of my own money in getting this property to where it is now. And since then, my business started falling off, so my income went down roughly about 25%. So it has been a little difficult for me to actually get here and actually do the repairs and pay for all of this out of my own pocket, because that's basically what I've been doing. My sister is not in a condition to help, and my stepfather isn't either, so this has basically been falling into my lap. And I have been actually the one that's actually been coming down here and actually getting everything out of that house, doing all the demo and pulling everything out. And I have spoken to a couple contractors, two of which have never returned my calls. The one that my stepfather has spoken to, I've not even spoken to him at all, so I don't even know who he is. But I have been working on this property by myself, trying to actually get it up to code personally out of my own pocket and out of my own dime, which has been a rather daunting task considering I live 3 hours away, and which I will be driving back to Guilford County tonight so I can go to work at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning in Greensboro.
Okay. I see Councilman Robert Barker.
Yes, sir. Have you had, I mean, you and our office talk, I mean, you've had conversations?
Absolutely.
Okay. How much time, how do you feel about that timeline?
90 days is going to be pretty much impossible for me to get this condition completely.
What do you think, realistically? I mean, don't say something just to sound good. What realistically do you think it would take you to finish doing the work, sir?
At the pace that I'm going, if I'm paying for it out of my pocket and coming down here and doing the work, it's going to take me at least a year, honestly. Because, like I said, I am paying for this out of my pocket.
Understood. Okay. I just, there's no sense in us doing something that you know darn well you can't
Absolutely.
meet.
I sincerely agree.
Okay.
I sincerely agree.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Spears.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm pretty much agree with Councilman Rivenbark, but Officer Renner did mention in the previous public information, public hearing item about the rehab project, a rehab loan that we have, and considering, you said the condition of your stepfather, correct? He's elderly, and I don't know whose name is on the deed or whatever, but that might be advantageous for you to look into to take a burden off of you to pretty much put you in a better financial status and help progress with whatever options are available from the city to help you from a financial standpoint based on your stepfather's condition and Mr. Moore, right?
No, this is Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson too, sorry.
Yeah.
And I'll say to you, like I said to Mayor Pro Tem, you're already elderly too. That's not a knock, but you're, so you may fit the criteria as well. I don't I don't know how the deed is laid out, but
I don't think we fit the criteria because we don't reside in Hannibal County.
Neither one of us reside here.
But But does your stepfather?
No, he resides in Pender County.
Oh, okay. But so Brian, just quickly, Rachel, anyway, do they have to live here? But because the property is here, so.
So the intent of the program is owner occupancy.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, sorry, scrap that then.
So we have to live in the house, is what you're saying?
So the city's programs are designed to help homeowners repair their homes.
And
if
live
they meet
in
the
it, yeah.
qualifications.
Okay, sorry.
I looked at it, trust me, I've been trying to explore every avenue possible.
Right, but I always want to, make sure that
Right.
the options are out in the open and, we can try to digest what the possibilities are for us to move forward on this sort of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know.
Now, I did hear about a rental program of some sort. You recall that one, Brian? I did hear of a rental program of some sort. I don't know if you have to be a resident of New Hanover County to qualify for that particular program.
Yes, so the city does have a rental rehab program where someone a small scale can purchase or use a property that they own, rehab it with city funds, and then lease it to someone who's low to moderate income. So there is potential in that program.
So that might be an avenue.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Johnson's?
Like I said, I really do want to keep this property. My family has, well,
Sure.
like I said, my grandfather built it.
We hear you.
So I really want to keep this property, and I plan on moving back to Wilmington when I retire, if I can ever spell that word, because it's going to take some time for that to happen.
Right.
Because I enjoy this area. My wife's actually from Leland. I'm actually from Wilmington. Like I said, I grew up here. Everyone in my family has actually lived at that property, so I do want to save it. That's why I've been devoted my time and effort and my money to actually do the work myself to get it up to standards. But any program that comes up that we can use, possibly that rental program might help. My family actually does own a couple more properties that we might be able to do that, then that might be a gracious thing for me. I appreciate your time, folks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the public that wish to speak in favor or opposition? All right. Ms. Penny, have you received any comments?
No, sir, I have not.
No comments. Anyone in the council have any questions, thoughts? Okay. Then I'll close the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Spears. No, that was from the last. Oh, okay, let me move you there. Okay. I'll close the public hearing and ask the wishes of the council.
Make a motion with the period being 365 days.
Okay, and it's been seconded by Councilman David Joyner. Is there a question?
I just wanted to make
Ready,
a
Mr.
comment, much
Yes.
like the comment with the last Mrs. Mitchell's project, is that, excuse me one second. Kevin? Wanted to make sure I wasn't speaking out of turn. During that year that I'm making the same request I did on the last case. You remember what I said? Okay, and that's okay. Very good, thank you.
All right. Okay, motion by Councilman Spears and seconded by, who was it? Councilman Jordan, okay. All those in favor of the said motion, let it be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Those opposed? Okay. It's, okay. All right. So it's voted. Now, ask if there wishes to, about second reading. Motion to waive second reading, is there a second? Motion by Councilman Waddell, seconded by Councilman Robin Park to waive second reading. Those in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign aye. Aye, hands up, ayes.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, and so it is ordered. Thank you. All right. Next item of business is Ordinance 01, an ordinance making supplemental appropriation in the amount of $5,300 to the Special Purpose Fund for the Cape Fear Garden Club, Incorporated, grant to construct a vegetable garden at Maides Garden. I recognize City Manager Becky Hawk.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Barnett, members of council, and this item will be presented to you by Amy Beatty, our Parks and Recreation Director.
Good morning, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. The city applied to the Cape Fear Garden Club for grant funds to plant a raised vegetable garden at Maides Park. For over 50 years, the Cape Fear Garden Club has awarded projects from the profits of their annual Azalea Garden Tour to community projects to beautify, conserve, and educate our community. The Davis Community Center staff and program participants from youth to adults will plant this raised garden and maintain it as part of ongoing recreation programming.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yep. Any questions on behalf of council? Okay, hearing none. Thank you. As for the wishes of the council for a vote on the first reading of this ordinance. Motion approved by Kevin and seconded by Councilwoman Salette. All those in favor, let it be known by the sign aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mine is not up here unless I'm missing something. Right? Where is it? Okay. Okay, all in favor, 10 aye. Any opposed? None. Ask for the council wishes for a second reading of this ordinance. All in favor? Okay, Councilman Robinbart waves second, and Councilman Luke seconds that. All in favor, be known by the sign aye. Aye. It's so ordered, okay, and it's so moved. All right, thank you. All right, next item. Item O2 is an ordinance reducing the speed limit from 35 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour along White Oak Drive and Birch Court. Recognize City Manager Becky Hawk.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be presented by Dennis Volkanowicz, our city traffic engineer.
Gosh, shocked it went out.
Okay, and you can push it up in the bottom left.
Yeah, the static electricity zapped the
you
screen
can
out.
push the whole thing up.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, so attached for your consideration is an ordinance to reduce the speed limit from 35 to 25 miles per hour on White Oak Drive and Birch Court of the Oak Forest neighborhood at 5300 Greenville Loop Road. The residents of the Oak Forest neighborhood have demonstrated the required consensus to reduce the speed limit by submitting the attached petition as required by the Neighborhood Traffic Program 25 mile per hour speed limit reduction request policy, which was approved by City Council in September of 2021.
Okay. All right, yes, sir.
What's interesting about this, their problem is their neighbors. This is not a pass-through or a cut-through street. It's a dead end.
I don't disagree with you.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any questions from council? All right. What are the wishes of the council on the vote of this ordinance? I've got a motion by Charlie Robinbach, seconded by Celeste Andrews. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Okay. The ayes have it, and it's so ordered. What's your wishes on the second reading of this ordinance? A motion to waive second reading by Luke Waddell, seconded by Councilman Robinbach. Those in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right. Okay, the motion passes. All right, thank you. Item number 3A is a resolution officially accepting public street at Pacific Place and Woodlands Grove. Also attached with this item is item 03B, which is an ordinance establishing the speed limit of 25 miles per hour within the Pacific Place and Woodlands Grove neighborhoods along Arroyo Way, Mirage Way, Congaree Court, the Fusaki Drive, McCarley Boulevard, Eder Lane, and Plover Court. I recognize City Manager Becky Hart.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Again, Dennis Volcanowitz, City Traffic Engineer, and Rob Gordon, Plan Review Engineer, will handle both of these items.
Down? Oh, well, I'll make do. Good evening, Mayor, Pro Tem, members of City Council. As you noted, the item before you is a two-part item. The first item is a resolution for the acceptance of roadways and drainage improvements. The first location is Pacific Place off Greenville Loop Road. The roadways and easements proposed for acceptance within Pacific Place are identified in Exhibit A. The second location is Woodlands Grove, also known as Woodlands at Echo Farms, Phase 3B. The roads and easements proposed for acceptance within this neighborhood are identified in Exhibit B. In total, there are 1.26 miles of roadways proposed for acceptance. All roads have been installed per city standards, inspected by city staff, and all necessary repairs have been made. There are additional details and photos in your agenda packet for both locations. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on this acceptance. The second item, companion item, is an ordinance establishing a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit at the same neighborhoods, all the roads within the same neighborhoods, and one additional location, that being the neighborhood of Pond Crossing. Eider Lane and Plover Court were previously accepted with the Wisteria Clearbook City Drainage Improvement Project, and those roads are identified in Exhibit C as part of the ordinance.
Okay. Any questions from the council? All right, we're looking then at Ordinance 3A. What is your wishes? There's a motion by Councilman Robinbart, seconded by Councilman Waddell. All those in favor, let it be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, those opposed? The ayes have it, it is so ordered. Is there a motion for the wishes of the second reading?
It's a resolution, you don't
It's a
have to do a
resolution, don't
second.
need that. Thank you. All right, so then, 03, yep, wishes of 03B. Motion by Councilman Waddell, seconded by Councilman David Joyner. All those in favor, let it be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Ayes have it, and so is ordered. All right, thank you. Item 04.
Need a second reading for that one, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw it right there. Is there a waive to read second reading? All right, waived by Councilman Robinbart, seconded by Councilman Waddell. Those in favor, let it be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, those opposed? Okay, unanimous, and it's so ordered. Thank you. Item 04A is an ordinance appropriating $1,320,000 to the Pine Grove Drive and Greenville Loop Road Roundabout project. And the companion item is item 04B, was a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Duke Energy in the amount of $1,502,103 to relocate existing utilities in conflict with the proposed Pine Grove South Corridor improvements. I'll now recognize City Manager Becky Hall.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. The first two items will be handled by Project Manager Halyburton.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and members of council. Before you tonight is an ordinance appropriating $1,302,000 to the Pine Grove Drive Southern Corridor improvements. This appropriation is being made from the Transportation Bond Roadway Contingency Fund and will supplement the current project budget to fund the relocation of existing utilities owned by Duke Energy. This project, which is part of the Transportation Bond Program, extends approximately 7/10 of a mile along Pine Grove Drive and includes the addition of a 2-lane roundabout at the intersection of Pine Grove Drive and Greenville Loop Road, widening Pine Grove Drive to 3 lanes between Greenville Loop Road and Beasley Road, the addition of a multi-use path, and upgraded traffic signals at the Holly Tree Road and Beasley Road intersections. In addition to this ordinance, before you tonight is a resolution to allow the city manager to enter into a utility relocation agreement with Duke Energy in the amount of $1,502,423.15 for the necessary relocations of Duke facilities that conflict with the proposed Pine Grove Drive South Corridor improvements. Passage of both the ordinance and accompanying resolution is recommended. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right. Any questions? All right. Answer any questions from the council. What are the wishes? All right. We have a wish for approval from Councilman Member Select Andrews, seconded Councilman David Joyner. You've heard the question. Are you ready to vote? All in favor, let it be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. We'll ask the council now for a wish for the vote on the second reading of this ordinance. Waive the second reading. Councilman Robinbach makes that motion, seconded by Luke Waddell. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign aye. 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 Those opposed? Ayes have it, and it is so ordered. All right. Now we're going to ask the council if there are any questions about Ordinance 4B, which is the resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Duke Energy in the amount of $1,502,103 to recode existing utilities in conflict with the proposed Pine Grove South Corridor improvement. What are your wishes? Okay, motion by Councilman Waddell, seconded by Councilman Joyner. All those in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign aye. 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 All right, so ordered. And then one of the wishes of the second,
It's not needed for the
not needed
resolution.
for second reading, only one vote.
Go
Boom.
to there's a 4C that's not on the original agenda.
Okay,
There's a 4C.
all right. I'm told that there's a 4C.
It's a resolution right from, all you need is one vote.
Okay. Resolution 4C is a resolution authorizing the city attorney to file condemnation actions for the Pine Grove South Intersection Improvement Project. I need a motion. So moved by Councilman Kevin Spears, seconded by Councilman Luke Waddell. All in favor, be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, and it is so ordered. Does not need a second. Yes?
It would not need a second, but I do
Right.
want to make sure that, I believe that the city clerk has an amended ordinance, or, I'm sorry, an amended resolution that's got the amended, 3 of the items that we have agreed to settle since then, and so the amended final numbers are in there for that. It's not a huge difference, but we do have that, and for you to be handed out, just to make sure you're aware.
Okay. Okay, would you state the amendments for us, please, the difference?
Yeah, hang on for just a second. Assistant City Attorney Whitley Stavish can address
Thank you.
that.
I'm sorry. That's okay, thank you. Yeah, except we changed it.
But these were settled, so that's what you're saying.
Good
these were
evening.
settled.
They have accepted our offers.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
the only reason why we're filing is we're waiting on the lenders to consent to the taking. So the amount in your amended resolution is the correct amount that they have accepted.
Okay. All right, motion to approve the amended by Councilman Waddell, is there a second? Councilman Robinbach, second that, okay. All those in favor of
Are we
approving?
going to express the amount verbally, or do we not have to?
We can list that in the record if you want. For item number 1, let's see, if you look at your resolution, under number 1, I'll just go through all of them really quickly. For Lyles Enterprises, Inc., the total amount is $359,400. For number 2, DG Wilmington Pooh LLC is $60,000. Number 3, DVM Services Realty LLC is $87,300. Number 4, Wells Fargo Bank NA is $1,530. Number 5, David and Elizabeth Turkle II.
Meredith, I mean
Yes.
the overall, not each individual one. So is the amount, I thought, you said there was an amendment, so is the amount not what we said it was in total, or is it different?
So go ahead. So the amount for 3 of them is different than your original items.
So that
because
does change the total amount at the end.
It does change the total. I don't have a calculator in front of me.
The
but-
total's been updated in the cover letter, which is included with the packet.
Okay, hang on for just a second.
And what does the total say, please?
That's what, hang on for just a second.
1.162630.
And that's the amended total amount, is what Mr. Spears just read into the record?
Yes.
Okay, that's the,
$1,162,000. Well, $1,162,630,000.
That's what the amended amount is.
$630.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just making sure we were clear.
Okay.
Very good.
And then I confused myself. Do I doing it?
The previous amount was $1,052,900.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for that clarity. Did we take the vote? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need to
Yeah, we
do
did.
this one again.
We already voted on it.
Okay, good.
Very good. That brings us to our next item of business, which is our resolution. Item R1 is a resolution to execute a registry. Yes, sir.
Don't we have to re-vote? The first vote was for what was in our packet.
Right. And Luke did a motion for the.
That's
the
fine to go ahead.
revised.
You can go ahead and revote. It'll just make it clearer for the record for Madam Clerk, I think.
Okay, we're going to go back to item 404C. What are the wishes of council in respect to the amended amount? It was read into the record by Councilmember Spears. Motion made by Councilmember Rivenbark, second by Councilmember Andrews. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. That brings us to our next item, which is our resolutions. Item R1 is a resolution to execute a registry agreement with the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources to further protect and preserve a portion of the natural area known as the South Wilmington Sandhills, located within Halyburton Park. And at this time, I'd like to recognize our city manager, Ms. Becky Hawk. Ms. Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be presented by Amy Beatty, our Parks and Recreation Director.
Good evening again, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. The North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources has a program to register heritage areas throughout the state. These are voluntary agreements with property owners that aim to preserve unique and unusual natural features, protect outstanding examples of the natural diversity occurring throughout the state, and encourage educational activities and scientific research. The state is providing an opportunity for the city to add Halyburton Park to the state's Heritage Registry. The agreement involves no change of title or loss of ownership rights. It does affirm City Council's intentions to continue to preserve the open space at Halyburton Park and is an additional tool that we can use to promote the park to residents and visitors. There are 4 registry agreements in New Hanover County: Carolina Beach State Park, Fort Fisher Coquina Rock Outcrop, the Sudbury Road Savannah, and Figure 8 Marsh Islands. This would be the first heritage registry within the city of Wilmington. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Amy, just out of curiosity, the Venus flytraps that there at the park there behind Alderman School, aren't those part of that?
Stanley Reader Carnivorous
Yeah,
Garden,
yes.
those are not a part of the registry. We can certainly engage the state and ask them if they would consider that. I would think that it would qualify.
Okay, very good, just curious. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. What are the wishes of council in respect to the resolution? We have a motion to approve by Councilmember Rivenbark, second by Councilmember Waddell. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And just for the record, my thing, Dylan, is not working, so I looked, I didn't even touch anything and it went on, but thank you. So that's 7. Thank you. That brings us to our next item of business, which is item R2, which is a resolution amending the Wilmington City Council's rules of order related to ordinance approval and setting of council's consent agenda. At this time, I'd like to recognize City Manager, Ms. Becky Hawk. Ms. Hawk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. This item will be handled by Deputy City Manager Mary Vague, as well as City Attorney Meredith Everhart.
Good evening. I do have a brief presentation that I'll give tonight for the public. I took our presentation from Monday morning, kind of abbreviated just as a reminder of what this item is. So we started a little more than a year ago trying to make improvements to the agenda process. As you recall, we made some improvements to the actual system itself, the design, the cover memo, those kinds of pieces. That was kind of the first phase of where we were going. Also looking to streamline the process. So as you can see, we've been continuing to review other potential improvements along the way. And one of the things we looked at was our consent agenda. As noted tonight, you saw there were several items that were mismatched, and that's because we keep them all together, but some require 2 votes, some require 1 vote. We also have some items that are very small in dollar amounts that have to require 2 votes that cannot be put on a consent agenda based on our policy. So we looked at that and worked with legal to see what we currently could do. So our current rules of order, because this is what governs it, is that it requires all items on the consent agenda to be passed by a single vote. And right now, that's just done by resolution. And staff determines what goes on that. And at any given moment, just as a reminder, council can pull any item off of that. We provide the same information in the agenda packet as we do on any other item. And you can pull it and vote on it as a separate item currently and ask staff any questions. Rule number 12 talks about that ordinances require 4 votes to pass, and they also require a first and second reading for all, unless it's something that's determined by emergency measure by the city attorney. The state, which ultimately regulates this in our general ordinance rules, it just requires a majority vote of members be present and not excused. That second reading is not required if there is at least 5 council members who vote on it on the first reading. Second reading is required, though, if there's less than 5. So, for example, if this change happened and something did not pass with 5 votes, it would still need to have a second reading regardless. There are some items that are not included in this because they are exempt because of state law, and we couldn't include them. Things like the budget, franchises, any sort of development or rezoning, those kinds of things. Those are all governed by state law and require their own approval process. So they would not be included in this rules of order change. So what's being proposed tonight in front of you is to amend rule number 5, section 1, which is to allow ordinances on the consent agenda, excluding public hearings or public comments or those items that are governed by the state. And again, I remind you that council at any given moment, like currently with resolutions, can pull an item from consent if they have questions or concerns. It would also amend rule number 12, section 4, allowing ordinances to pass on first reading with 5 affirmative votes, and that's in the packet. And then, as I mentioned at our last time, we'd like to amend rule number 13, which is just a typographic error. It's a comma in the middle of a sentence. So we would just, while we're making these changes, would ask that we make that one as well. So incorporating them tonight, just as a reminder, we would place non-controversial ordinances on the consent agenda, very similar to what we do with our resolutions. You can pull any item out for presentation, questions, or a separate vote. And then ordinance passing first reading with 5 votes or more would not require a second reading moving forward. Staff is here. We can answer any questions. The city attorney, from a legal perspective, can help as well.
Councilmember Andrews?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. So how long have we been doing it the way we're doing it?
I would need someone to tell me the Wilmington way. I'm not sure how long it has been. Meredith, do you recall? Has it been a long time? I probably could ask you. I'm sorry, sir. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. It's actually in our charter, how that goes as far as ordinances requiring 2 votes. And so and we just have the option to either go with what's in our charter or go with the state law.
And what is the problem?
There's not a problem, ma'am. We, as part of just streamlining the process, we're looking. So, for example, there was an item that was, while it may not have taken much time, having staff sit here through it, there was a $5,000 ordinance. It requires 2 readings. If there was a way to put it on the consent agenda, that staff member, or potentially we could have left earlier, or there could be other things, or maybe there's non-controversial, so there's no questions if there's people here for it. It's the same reason why we created a consent agenda for resolutions. Most municipalities, at least in my experience, have ordinances and resolutions on their consent agenda.
So I don't have any problem with putting the $5,000 ordinance on a consent agenda and being able to pull it. I think I have a problem with the fact that, and I did ask the attorney to look into this, whether other organizations allow public hearings or public comment on ordinances. You know, I know we just do public hearings for very specific things. So my concern is if we have an ordinance that passes 5-2 and doesn't require a second reading. Couple of things. First of all, we don't really get to hear from the public on our ordinances, and so, you know, we could end up passing something and not realizing that there's some real concern. Also, the concern about waiving the second reading when it passes 5-2. I have a concern if that ordinance gets amended during the first reading. If it gets amended, we just had something like this happen a few meetings ago, where something got amended and then we had an outcry from the public regarding the amendment. And so I think with the second reading, we were able to walk back the amendment. If we had this kind of thing in place, we wouldn't have had that opportunity.
Well, and I would look to the attorney for some of that. Number one, probably that would not have been on the consent agenda, but it also
No,
would.
I understand it wouldn't have been on the consent agenda, but I'm concerned about if it passes 5-2, but it's been amended during that first reading. It's not the same ordinance that we advertised.
Well.
And so we don't get a second opportunity to.
But that's resolutions as well. So,
Right.
I mean.
Right.
We currently have that process too.
I think ordinances are just a little bit more serious than resolutions.
In response to your question, Councilmember Andrews, about what other places do as far as their public comment section, most places do not allow public comment on ordinances. They have the public comment section just like we do, which we could amend our rules and move that public comment section to the beginning, further up in the agenda if you would like to, if that would maybe address some of the issues that you're concerned with. But most jurisdictions do not allow public comment on specific ordinances. It's just during that public comment period.
I don't know, but there was probably a day and a time when there wasn't a consent agenda. I don't know, I mean, it's been like this since I've been down here. But the way I'm understanding you, regardless of what's on there, it can be pulled by any of us.
Yes, sir. Much like currently, any item that is on the consent agenda at any moment can be pulled, and you can request additional information. You can hold an item to another meeting. Yes, because it's your agenda once it's published in here, so, yeah.
We can do second readings and change it over and over and over, but it's still not a public hearing.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I just want to be clear. Thank
Mayor
you.
Pro Tem.
Yeah, I was just, clarity for me, when you say the managing in place non-controversial, what are those non-controversial ordinances?
I would be very similar, so if I had to take tonight's agenda, for example, the first item on the agenda, the ordinance section was and I don't have it in front of me, was like a $5,000 parks item. I got some head nods from people. That's an item that we probably would have put on a consent agenda, because all the background information is there. Basically, Amy Beatty, who's wonderful, came up here and said the same thing that was in the cover memo. Things like that. You know, we do our best, and we currently do this with resolutions. So we do our best at any given moment to if it seems or smells like it could be controversial, we would not put it on a consent agenda. We do that now with resolutions. And it would be the same process for ordinances. So I'm struggling a little bit, Mayor Pro Tem, to give you more examples than that, because it could be a larger, I don't want to give a dollar amount, because it could be, y'all had an item on there that was a resolution earlier that was a $3 million, a change in a contract. If it's non-controversial and it's something that's in the normal, standard, everyday business that we do. But anything I've learned in my time in government can become controversial with just, so, but we would do our best to typically put on there those things that are standard business, much like we do right now.
Okay, and you mentioned when you first started that we've been working on this for a year.
We've been working on just improving the agenda process in general, recognizing there were software issues, which we're still working on even more improvements there, but also the cover memo, if you recall, used to be a letter that's now changed to very specific information for you to see and understand. We also wanted to look at the meetings themselves, see if we could streamline them, streamline your time, staff time, the public's time, And so that's where some of this came from. We've actually been talking about doing this since I got here 3 years ago, because a lot of us who were new had never seen this before. So we question it, and the more I questioned Sean and legal about it, the more we figured out where it came from. I didn't know how long it had been in place, but what we could and couldn't do based on state law.
Okay. And so this, you say, and doing this will get us through the meeting quicker? Is that the goal?
It potentially could. I mean, you don't spend a lot of time on these smaller items, but it does require the calling of somebody coming up here. Potentially, you could do a presentation. It also could put companion items together that could go on consent agenda. Right now, if there's an ordinance, we hold the resolution and make that as part of the non-consent agenda. Whereas it could be, technically, some of it could be all consent. But again, I also remind council that at any given moment, you can pull any item off of consent that you would like to vote on separately and to have separate discussion or to move forward. That is always your choice. And this doesn't take that away. It doesn't change any of that. It just expands our ability to put things on the agenda.
Ms. Spears?
I almost want to say that I agree with this because then I know you guys will go against it. But I don't. I don't agree with this, and for several reasons. When we're talking about deeming something as being controversial, whose term? What?
I just remind the fact, I'm going to go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Councilmember Spears. I wouldn't necessarily use the term controversial. The term that I would use is likely to require additional discussion. So that could be questions that we think council is going to have. That could be if we know that something is not going to be a unanimous vote because of other conversations or comments that council has had. And so something that may require a presentation to make sure that there's greater understanding. So I would move away from the term controversial and just go to items that council is going to be likely to want to discuss in some capacity at a greater length. So if I were using my judgment, if this rule were in place right now, I would have moved the $5,300 appropriation for the Cape Fear Garden Club up to consent. I would have moved accepting the public streets and the speed limits up onto consent. I would have moved the ordinance appropriating the dollars for an already approved project up to consent, but I would have kept condemnations on the regular agenda item because that is a known kind of hot button topic of that is likely to have additional questions or clarification that council would have before you might be comfortable to move forward. I would have then moved the resolution.
Okay, hold, Becky.
Sure.
Hold. You make me lose my thought. Go, wait a minute. Wait a
Okay.
minute.
Sorry, I'm not trying.
So, I get it.
Yep.
But we're right on the cusp of, we're going to at least get one new council member. At least one. If we were going to streamline this process, I've talked about ways that we could streamline these processes where these meetings would go better. And I might as well have not said anything because none of that has changed at all. But I think what happens here is that the potential to expedite certain things is also an opportunity to bury certain things as well. And a person, any council member could have a thing on their mind, but based on the pace of the meeting, it may slip your mind. And if you don't pull it out the consent agenda, you can't go back and get it, right?
You can. I mean, you can.
Well, I recall a meeting where I recall a meeting since I've been on council that it was in the consent agenda. It was passed, I went back to get it, and I don't believe we touched it.
It would be a motion there is a mechanism to do that through a motion to reconsider and then pull it off the consent agenda.
Right, so a motion, you got to get it seconded, right?
I believe it has to be someone who voted against it. Bring it back, isn't that right?
Yeah, so, yeah,
Doesn't it have to
you
be
really
someone
can't
who
bring it
voted
back.
against it to bring it back?
For a motion to reconsider.
Motion to reconsider.
That's if something failed. That's if something actually failed.
If it didn't fail.
So
I think that's what you were talking about.
Either way, I don't think this is the solution. And to even mention the fact that, you know, we got some members of staff who are here, that could be gone home. I'd love to be at home too, but this is our job. This is their job. So if they're getting paid to be here, right? For whatever, I don't think Amy's gonna complain about a 5-minute presentation that she did. She expects it. I think that's the expectation that we have of staff to do their jobs. That's the expectation that citizens have of us, is to do our jobs. So I'm not in agreement with this. It just seems a little fishy to me. We're talking about streamlining and doing what others do, and we're removing public comments and things of that nature. I don't think it's necessary. We've been doing a lot of streamlining and changing things, and we don't adhere to most of it.
I do want to say there's nothing in here about public comment. So we have not removed anything to do with public comment or had any.
So no one just said anything about a public comment with ordinances or something like that?
No, we currently don't have public comment on our ordinances unless it's required, and so we're not touching those. Those are not included in any of this. And the ordinances that would be included in this, we currently do not have public hearing on. So we're not touching public hearings. I just wanted to clarify that so that people knew
thank you.
that was not we weren't touching anything to do with public hearings.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna drag it out. I would actually love to just leave it the way it is. And if we were gonna streamline anything, it would be the, how soon we get the packet. That's the thing that would make this go way smoother. Because
we can talk about that.
You talk about Thursday to Friday to the agenda briefing on Monday. And, you know, I don't know how much time others have, but it's pretty tight squeeze for me. Thank you.
Councilmember Spears, do you have a desired amount of advanced notice?
I mean, I would love to get it at least. So, I mean, when is it complete? When do you know what you're going to present to us, and why do we have to wait till Thursday if you have?
A lot of items are being finalized on Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
we have a consensus. We have the rough draft, right?
We have the rough draft, but if there's a desire by council to have a different time period, we would love to have that feedback, and we can work to push our process backwards to be able to accommodate whatever that desired timeline is.
I don't know. David and I are the only two that really work.
We've made notes of, because there were some items that came out of the work session as well, so we've made notes of that in terms of our processes. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Joyner. Mr. Joyner, I'm sorry.
This is actually a question for my fellow council members. Did any council members ask for this to be brought forward?
No.
So to me, that's going to be the determination of my vote. So I'm inclined to vote no on this, and I think that we really need to take ownership and maintain control over the fact that we own the rules. They are our rules as council members. It's one thing for us to consult with the city attorney to ask what other municipalities or other bodies have done, what would legally be possible, but I'm not super comfortable with us.
Wait a minute, Mary.
I'm not super comfortable with us going in this route, and I don't want to diminish the work that staff has done if that was an instruction that was given to them, but we have the opportunity at the conclusion of this election to decide amongst the next generation of the council if we want to make edits to these, and I think that would be the more appropriate time to do so.
Ms. Andrews?
Yeah, and the reason that I brought up public comment is because we have so many things that we don't really hear from the public. We get them Thursday, sometimes late Thursday. The last couple have come in at 6:30 at night on a Thursday for the agendas. And so we have very little, and then the public doesn't see them until Friday at noon at the earliest. And there's very little time for the public to react to what's on our agendas. That's all I'm saying. And so now we're talking about, if something passes on a 5-2, and perhaps, we didn't have any opportunity to hear from the public, and, they realized that, we screwed up, and we passed something that probably we may have had unintended consequences. And the other thing is, I feel like if we publish an agenda, that's what we're going to be discussing. And if we end up amending an ordinance and passing the amended ordinance 5-2 with no chance for a second reading, I feel like that's taking away the public's right to know what we're going to be acting on. So, I would be inclined to vote no on this. And I would prefer also to have these one at a time instead of all in a package like this.
Thank you.
Mr. Dunbar.
There'll always be 7 sets of eyes in addition to our staff looking at this. If we get the agenda goes to us on Thursday around noon, am I correct on that? I know we get it before the public does.
Sometimes it's been a little later recently. We've had a lot of items come up.
But
yeah.
but we're talking about the way it's supposed to be.
Yes, sir.
Why not just there's nothing that I do when I see the agenda that's going to make a huge difference in when it goes to the public. And anything in that agenda briefing is a golden opportunity for anybody up here to pull something or to ask for it to be moved to the regular agenda. I don't see why that would be a problem. It would change. But, if that's a concern, and I'm not advocating for this, but I know that the mayor appointed an ad hoc committee some years back that I served on with Margaret Haynes and I think Neil Anderson, and we went through a whole litany of changing our rules of order and stuff, and this is kind of like an offshoot of that. I don't see a problem with it, but, if it's causing this much angst over something that's this minor, then vote no. I won't be here, so it won't make a damn bit of difference to me, but it just seems like the proper thing to do.
Mr. Waddell.
Yeah, I appreciate the staff time that's gone into this, and I'm with you. I'm amenable to running more efficient meetings, and I agree with the proposal to put certain ordinances in the consent agenda with the understanding that any council member can pull them. But the existing structure that we have that allows a single member to vote against waiving a second reading, I feel is appropriate, and is something I've utilized as a mechanism to encourage additional discussion in the past, and other members have done so as well. And while it's painful for all of us to rehash items over and over again, it does have its merits. So I would concur with Councilmember Joyner. I think maybe this could utilize or could do well with some additional discussion from a council, maybe some sort of ad hoc or something in the future. I'd be happy to serve on a committee like that to try and flush out some of these items. Those are my thoughts. I think maybe we just continue this to another date.
Okay. Very good. Okay, thank you, Mary. Ready to vote? Mr. Barnett, you want to? I'm ready to vote. Okay, let's go ahead.
We haven't got a motion, do we?
Motion to, who's going to make the motion to deny or approve?
I make a motion to deny.
Okay, make the motion. Mr. Spears has made a motion to deny. Second by Councilmember Joyner. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm saying aye too. There you go.
Pass, denied. Okay, this concludes the regular agenda. Are there any items being brought forward by our city attorney?
No, sir.
City manager?
No, sir.
Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Ms. Spears?
Nope, nothing.
Ms. Andrews?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody that the municipal elections continue with early voting. Still this week, Monday through Friday, is still just at the Northeast Library, but starting on Saturday and Sunday this week, we will have our 3 additional sites open within the city, especially besides Carolina Beach. Within the city, we have the Senior Center and the Community College. Also on Saturday and this coming Saturday and Sunday, and the following Saturday and Election Day, we're going to have fare-free transit on Wave Transit, so anybody that needs to get to the polls can do so. But I also want to reiterate that those fare-free days are not just for getting to the polls. It is literally, you can ride the bus anywhere. So I would encourage you, if you've ever been interested in learning how to ride the bus and just seeing where it'll take you, take advantage of it.
Councilman Mark? No, sir. Mayor Pro Tem?
Sure. Just want to remind us again, as Councilman Andrews said, of course, go out and vote. Definitely go out and cast your vote. Also, this month is cancer awareness as well as domestic violence. And we just ask you to take care of your neighbors and each person take care of themselves. Thank you.
Councilmember Waddell? Councilmember Joyner?
No, thank you.
I just want to say congratulations to all the folks that contributed to the lighting of New Hanover High School, although I'm a Viking, and so is Mr. Spears. Mr. Rivenbark is a Wildcat, and it did an outstanding job. A lot of volunteers, a lot of people donated money to light up that magnificent school, and it's worth saving. So with that, we stand adjourned.